Live.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order of the Genoa Area School Board of Education for Tuesday, February 16th, 2021. And we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mike, will you take the lead there?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I trust everybody is dug out tonight. This quite a snowstorm last night about 10, 11 o'clock. Reminded me of Blizzard 78 a little bit. Bill, you want to call roll?
Yeah, roll call. Mr. Cashin.
Mr. Cashin here.
Mrs. Lewis.
Mrs. Lewis here.
Mr. Traver.
Mr. Traver here.
Mr. Trainer.
Here.
And Mr. Rightower.
Present.
Thank you. First item up for board consideration is the agenda for this evening. Any adjustments, changes, additions, Mike? Yes, on page 14, number 5, there's going to be discussion, short discussion, and looking for approval. One item of understanding that's real. This is in regards to teacher evaluations for the meetings. Okay. Any other questions for that board?
No motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you.
Jeff Trainer, second.
Thank you. Mr. Cashin.
Tom Cashin, yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Christina Lewis, yes.
Mr. Traver.
Keith Traver, yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Jeff Trainer, yes.
Okay, Mr. Rightower.
Brian Rightower, yes.
Thank you. Next couple items are the approval of minutes from our January 6th regular meeting and also our organizational meeting. Draft copies were sent out after the January 6th meeting. Any changes? Any questions on those two? Now I just need a motion.
Yeah.
Catch it up, since you were second. Thank you. Mr. Harrison.
Tom Cashin, yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Christina Lewis, yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Keith Traver, yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Jeff Trainer, yes.
And Mr. Rightower.
Tom Rightower, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moves to our audience participation segment. Are we gonna have that,
Christina Lewis, yes.
Tom, will you be able to do that, Mr. Baker?
Yeah, we have nothing at this time. No emails. If you would like to ask or comment on the board meeting tonight, just send an email to boardmeetings@genoaschools.com and we will get that on the agenda. Nothing at this time.
I was referring to the formal design class, were they gonna be able to join us, and they were on the agenda to be recognized? Good evening, this is Ben. They will not be joining us this evening. Tech class, this is an addition to here, and we've been in person, there will be a great arrangement in front of each of you. Those young ladies along with Miss Shane, it's really been a great addition, we'll get some of the in front of you at some point in time, yet this year. Thank you to those ladies and them for recognizing them. Look forward to seeing their work. We'll take the input Scheduled in-house on March 9th. That'll be our juniors only on that day. Hopefully the weather will cooperate with us. It's hard to believe that March 9th is almost here. And then the other two items before we get to graduation and prom. I do want to go ahead and just commend Matt Robinson for the work that he's done all year. It's probably not really difficult to be an athletic director. The day-to-day operations, but then also to his work in regards to the football coach search committee, the people who are on that, as well as that for the work that they did. Moving on into graduation and prom, we did put out a survey to the senior class. The fact that share those numbers, but it's slightly favored for an evening rather than an afternoon. But it's closer than what I thought most people would expect, but probably not. It doesn't surprise me that it's close. Because I still think for those people who weren't at graduation or didn't get a chance to see the evening one, the success of all the previous years during the daytime probably still holds true for a lot of people. So there's a slight favor there, 60-40 of evening as opposed to traditional daytime. The other thing that is now becoming, which we knew it would be conversations about proms and where school districts are heading, and things of that nature. So, what that might look like, where that individual outreach program, things of that nature, we serve that at the point where we don't anticipate needing a whole other thing in our daily.
And Westman Dental's everyday smiles event, issuing custom-crafted dentures made in our on-site labs and ready in as
That cooperative. So, there was a thought to talk there some type of event. We would actually look to try and push it into that first weekend in June. Is where fall. About a month from that, we do have some different formats and timelines. How these things could maybe be in conjunction together. But that's probably for maybe the next meeting to see what comfortability everyone is there. And I do have a couple more. I've been to kids in return surveys. It's 30 to 85 and 625 for the afternoon. But that's probably that's what I'm going to have to put this on. Interesting. I don't know what the motivation was for the survey. Did the survey tell you anything about it? It doesn't surprise me that it's only roughly half the group. I thought last year the spring was tough on the class of 2020, but I remember put out an email to our staff last spring that 2021, this class is going to have a really tough year. And only had 50% respond. Doesn't necessarily surprise me. It's been a tough year for everybody. They've had a tough year all the way around. All right. That it, Ben?
Ben, I'll just,
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
I'll just say this Chuck Trainer, I'm pretty thrilled on figuring something out for him. It's probably the safest thing.
Well, good. Go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead and finish that. I'm back. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, if there is a thought, if we were to do that,
Saturday afternoon option for graduation, a Sunday afternoon graduation for option, before you'd have to go indoors later. So there's just more opportunities for certain things to happen outside before you get pushed indoors. But again, I can share that.
Okay, then my only other question for you. Okay.
Okay, you or me, Chris, I don't care.
Go ahead, you go.
In regards to ACT, did we ever get the fall scores back to compare, how COVID affected our scores?
We have not. And I don't,
okay.
Yeah, and I don't think that the COVID would have an impact, because our kids took last year before we were ousted out of the building.
Right. If we compare, our fall ACT scores to fall of 19 ACT scores, with our kids being remote learning for, 2 semesters, how did that affect us? That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, that would be, it would be a very small sample size, because those kids who have taken in the fall this past year would have been kids who would have taken likely in addition to the state mandated test, which those are typically pretty highly motivated students who are taking the extra fall tests. So I would imagine those kids probably did well. We've not seen the data from ACT yet, though.
Thank you.
Okay, Ben, one last question.
Sure.
Is the Scholarship Foundation application live for the seniors to submit their application for scholarships?
I'm going to defer that to Mr. Baker. I have not seen any communication between Mr. Brown and Mr. Baker that says that that's out yet. That's one of the things Mr. Baker makes happen.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. We have a meeting this Thursday evening. I just want to make sure they asked me to follow up on that. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, thanks, Ben, for all your work. And again, echo Jeff's sentiments. If last year was any indication, I'm sure we'll come up with a good plan, and sounds like you're well on your way. Let's go to Kevin.
Yeah, our focus this month of February. Laura Pearson has spearheaded that, and we had 2 really good weeks to get that going. We have a little different twist to it every day, and the staff and the kids are buying into it real well. So we hope to continue that for the next 2 weeks. Mother Nature has not been very kind to us, but we're going to do our part in school anyway. So like I said, it's been really nice just to see the kids reaching out to one another, helping each other, being acknowledged for it. And we have our art teacher, Jessica Cable, put a tree out in the lobby, or not in the lobby, but outside the gym. And every time a student does something, they get a little heart and they put it on that tree. So if you're ever in the middle school gym area, check it out. It's really cool. And like I said, it's been 2 nice weeks, because February is kind of a doldrum month with the weather and everything else. So, and COVID this year especially. So we're really excited just to have something a little different to look forward to each day. So like I said, that's been our main focus this month.
All right, any questions for Kevin? All right, moving on. Yolanda, would you like to tell us about what's happening at the elementary school?
Yes, I will give you half, and I'll let Cody take the other half of what's going on. We have been doing gifted testing for the last couple of weeks at the elementary with our 2nd and 5th grade students. We are working on trying to do makeups with our quarantine students. We did happen to have some students quarantine in the middle of testing, and that's with our 2nd grade students. We also need to complete testing for our virtual students, so that will be a task coming up in the next couple of weeks that we are focusing on. Overall, though, it has went well. Technology and everything cooperated with us. Our PTO, I don't think I show them enough appreciation for everything they're doing for our kids and our staff. They did a Valentine's Gram just recently, last week, Friday. They were able to give every student in our elementary a gift. If parents wanted to purchase gifts, they could as well. Something new that they're trying to do. They're trying to put on a lot of new events for the elementary just because we have to cancel a lot of things that they originally do. But they have been, it's just phenomenal of what they're putting in place and what they are doing and the changes that they're making. On top of that, we will be doing our flower sale coming up, and we are going through benches this year. So that begins February 22nd. And I know I've been back and forth with the PTO president just going on the logistics of that. It seems to be a very good opportunity that we're doing. It's going to be a virtual setting. There's going to be a flyer going home soon from PTO. So we're excited about that starting. And other than that, we are going to be preparing more for the kindergarten screening. That's something I know that's going to be on the agenda to discuss a little bit more. But more information will be coming out within the next few weeks. And I know that our reading teacher, Ashley Delp, has been brainstorming some ideas of how to provide virtual learning opportunities for our incoming kindergarten students so they aren't far behind coming in. So that's something we're also working on for those students. And I will go ahead and let Cody take over the second half of that. Do you have any questions with those even? Yep.
Just quick thought, and then maybe for Mike as well.
He's really holding on to that
I
thought.
want to encourage everybody to, participate certainly in the flower sale and others to participate. Yeah, and I think, how do we take it as a campus of buying some flowers or getting people who might want to donate flowers for the beautification of the campus? I bet there'd be a lot of people who would buy flowers for around school. If that's something that we would even consider. I just had a thought about that. I thought, well, it'd be neat to have some flowers around certain points of the.
I did catch, I'm sorry, I didn't catch half of that, but for the donation of flowers for the school, I think it'd be a great opportunity. I know our landscaping is looking a little rough out there right now. So we do have to get that going a little bit more. And I'm not
just
sure.
A thought, I think there'd be a lot of people who would want to help out.
Yes, and I know that we can open this up to the community as well, because the virtual link will take you there if they wanted, if the community wanted to purchase through that fundraiser as well. I'm not sure if anyone else caught the first half of that.
I think you got the gist of it, but I think that's a great idea, Ron. I know I certainly would buy flowers for my home, but I'd also buy them for the school for sure. I think, Mike, you'd have to just make sure we've got the people to plant them.
Absolutely.
If we do that, we definitely want to make sure they get in the ground and get planted if we do it. But I think it's a great idea. 2 birds, 1 stone. I love it.
Doesn't our FFA program, Ben, do something with regard to, I know they do usually their flower sale. Is there something that we can do to help them as well to kind of coincide and work on both of those?
The FFA typically will put mulch. They mulch the campus in the higher visibility areas. So it may not be something we could reach out to Ms. Shane about to see if that's something they could add to their effort.
Yeah, I was going to say they do. They mulch and they pull the weeds. I don't think they were able to last year with the shutdown. But there's also some of the intervention specialists at the elementary are looking at having opportunities for students to do tasks to help our building after school hours. And that's something we've been in discussion with. So even if it's an activity for some of our students to do, under guidance, of course, of like the teachers and that would be something great that we could also put in place.
I like it. Let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to pick up the second half of elementary. We had just some things to shout out to our students and our staff two big things kind of started as much normalcy as possible for some of our students. We had our student council pick up a little later than typical, and we did just 4th and 5th grade reps this year with Miss Aubrey Getz. They did a fantastic job, and Miss Getz did a great job leading that. Students that wanted to be considered for representatives, they utilized Flipgrid for their videos, and they pushed those out to their students. And the reps were put up on our social media, and they had a couple meetings already. Yolanda and I were able to get in the second one, and there was some great conversations that those students are bringing up. And I just love their focus. Their focus is serving their students, which is an amazing representation of what our democracy should look like. So lots to be proud of there. Some valid concerns came out of the discussion, and I enjoy having that conversation with them. So a lot of focus on improving the school and serving others. This Friday is their first Fantastic Friday, so our students are going to get to enjoy a PJ Day for, I believe it's a $1 donation to Student Council. And they're also going to pick up with their Smensels, which are essentially smell good pencils. Which were a hot seller pre-COVID. So they're hoping to get all of those out of their storage as well. A second thing that our students and our staff are doing together, we started back up a Robotics Club. It looks a little different than it did pre-COVID, but Mrs. Bethany Foos is leading that once more for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. And they will be one of the highlights of social media here soon. We're going to get those students and Mrs. Foos up on our Twitter and on our district webpage as well. And then finally, we are in the middle of preparing for our 5-day return. We plan on sharing out to our staff our 5-day back to school, back to family guide, having conversations with our building leaders and with our staff about that, and then sharing that information out to our parents next week. And that's a wrap up for the elementary.
I've got a question for all the building principals. So going back to 5 days, what's the plan? I think last week we had like 52 kids out of in quarantine. What's the plan to keep up with their home packets, home study, video? What does that look like with that 5th day in school?
I guess I will speak for elementary. It's going to be the live recordings in the classroom is what we anticipate having done for them. The packets, planning for that, it's going to look similar to when we have like our absences for sick kiddos. But we're really going to have to focus on those live recordings and having those posted at a reasonable amount of time for those quarantine students. The week at a glance, they're still going to be up for the parents to see as well. So we have that in preparation. We'll just have to be prepared when we do have the quarantine students. That's for parents to view and know what to anticipate.
The middle school, our students are pretty self-sufficient that way. Most of the work they can access on Google Classroom, and then we will make a special effort to reach out to those students. We'll probably work on that on Mondays, but even though we're still in session, I'll get with our staff members. Knock on wood, our numbers are pretty low, and hopefully they stay that way, but I'm encouraged by the few numbers that we have. In fact, I'm not sure, I think we're back to having everyone back in session the other day, so.
Yeah, I think that the bulk of it's still in the high school related to sports, I believe.
Yes, that's accurate. We expect to have to continue to make our way through the indoor season. We've had every team quarantined at some point in time, or at least significant parts of each of them. With that, we're hoping that once we get outdoors, we've asked for some clarification. None has been released guidance-wise yet in regards to what that looks like. I mean, kids did play baseball and softball last summer, with youth programs and things of that nature. So our question is whether or not those same protocols will be in place. There are probably certain track and field events that are more conducive to performing those with masks on, obviously, than others that are more cardiovascular in nature. So we'll have to see what the sports guidance does. Obviously, the cafeteria is still the cafeteria. We'll have some quarantines that'll come out of that, but hopefully we'll continue to head towards normalcy. And it's been a huge shift already in our numbers with not counting classroom quarantines. So we'll have fewer to deal with, and we'll handle them as they come.
Thank you.
All right. Holly, do you have anything for us?
Just one quick thing in terms of the levy. I think that last time we started a little bit later than we should have in preparation. So I've started talking to my members in my executive committee just to make sure that we're all on board for helping, and we definitely are. Just kind of waiting on you guys to hear what you need in terms of subcommittees or things like that. We'll do some things on our own to help, whether it's an advertisement or something like that. But in terms of committees, just kind of waiting to hear what you need us to do. Other than that, not much to say. I do want to touch a little bit on those Mondays, Mr. Trainer. We're going to do our best to keep up with everything, but I hope that the administration and parents and whatnot will be patient, because it's going to be different without the Mondays in terms of what we're able to accomplish while you have a full caseload during the day. We have to be mindful to not, we always take stuff home, but we need to not do, try to be superheroes, I guess. So there will be a lot of recording in classrooms and things like that. It just might be a little bit more difficult at the elementary level for some of those things, especially the younger grades. So just while we try to figure out this, I asked for a little bit of, mindfulness that we're going to try our best with that. So that's it.
We should probably create a communication that goes to parents and students when this happens after the 1st of March, because it will be different from if they've had a quarantine previous. It's not going to look the same, and I think we probably should communicate that. I don't think we need to make a big deal out of it.
Agree.
If you don't go out, but I think it's important that we communicate it very, very clearly when a student goes out, what the expectations are for the student and for the staff, so that they're just clear and have a good understanding. And we may have to have a little more leeway when those students come back in, because I just don't see how they'll have the same level of support that they had prior to March 1st. And I've experienced it. I've had 3 kids quarantined or isolated, so we got a lot of support from the staff while they were out, and it was much appreciated.
We've already shared those expectations with staff. We understand completely it's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be up and down. Right now, we have a total of 3 kids on quarantine in the whole district. So nobody's going to be overwhelmed at this point. Now, there could be a spike any time along the way, especially after spring break, but we will also get something else for the parents as well. Just regarding the levy, I've already spoken to Melissa Eaton. She's agreed to stay on and help out with that. But we will be setting an organizational meeting here in the first week of March.
Perfect. Whenever you
oops, sorry, Holly.
I was just going to say that.
That's going to be a section that we can also clarify in our, we're going to share a family guide back out as well for the elementary, so we can include that in part of our communication with them.
Go ahead, Holly.
I was back to the
Alright.
levy. Whatever you need from
I'm breaking
from
up
us,
a little bit. I don't know.
reach out and let me know. Okay.
Will do.
All right, I don't know if Dave's on the call or not, but anything going on in transportation that we need to be aware of?
Just
Okay.
to give you guys a heads up with transportation in regards to tomorrow, there's a good chance we may end up with a 2-hour delay in spite of all the efforts. The buses in the bus area, those with the sub-zero or the close to sub-zero temps tomorrow morning, and the piles of snow that are still around the bus, we may end up with a 2-hour delay. We'll see how things go this evening.
All right. Tom, is there any questions from the public? All right, I guess we'll go to turn it over to Bill for the treasurer's report.
I think we missed Courtney.
And me, if okay, I got a couple things. It's Matt.
Go ahead, Matt. You can start.
Courtney.
Okay,
go ahead
great.
and give us your oh, Matt's with us.
Just have a few events wrapping up. Our winter sports here in the next couple weeks. We'll be pretty busy. Cheerleaders are hosting Cheer for the Cure on Saturday here at the high school, middle school. We have 3 regular season boys basketball games left, and then their tournament game is next Wednesday, the 24th. We play at Swanton against Swanton. The girls will host Otsego in their sectional semifinal game on Thursday this week here at Genoa. Our wrestlers will compete in sectionals next weekend, the 26th, 27th at Oak Harbor High School. Our middle school boys start their basketball tournament this weekend on Saturday, and our 7th grade girls play tomorrow in the semifinals. So all that going on to wrap up fall sports, and then we have track, baseball, and softball start on Monday the 22nd. So they'll start their practices, probably not outside, they'll most likely be inside, but their practices will start next week. I did want to take a minute too and also thank the committee that helped in the search for our next football coach. I thought we did a classy job here interviewing candidates, and I appreciate everybody's help on that. Want to thank and congratulate Coach Mifsud for joining our Genoa team. We look forward to having him here at Genoa, working with our student athletes and our staff. And finally, our athletic boosters are running a fundraiser with Kalahari. It's if you book a room for Sunday, March 14th for $129, some of the proceeds of that come back to the boosters. There are details on their Genoa Athletic Booster Facebook page if you want more information on that. That's all I had.
I understand Coach Mifsud be on the call. Coach, welcome to Genoa. And get a few words for the board or for those in attendance.
Hey, Ron, can we get that section of the agenda first, and then we can let them talk if you're okay with it.
Okay. Sure.
All right. We still got Courtney. We're still waiting on Courtney.
Courtney. Yep.
Yep.
Courtney, take it away.
All right, thank you. A lot of my time and attention has been spent the past month or so trying to find a remote learning provider for us going forward. We know that remote learning options probably are not going to go away. So I've reached out to some different companies, different school districts that use different providers. And we're just kind of doing our due diligence and researching what else is out there. We learned a lot from our virtual learning experience this year and always looking to grow. So a lot of, like I said, my time and attention has been focused there. And hopefully we'll be coming to a decision here on who that provider might be, whether we stay with the same one now or explore somebody different. But it's not lost that remote learning is probably something that we're going to need to have an option for going forward. So that's where I've been most recently. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Any questions from the public, Tom? All right, with that, we'll turn things over to Bill for his treasurer's report.
I'm sorry, Cody, but I do have a few things to go over. Statement of financial activity, actually compared to budget for the month of January. An uncommon month, all good actually. Each of our line items that had activity all came back favorable for the month. Our other line continues to improve. Our positive open enrollment continues to improve. Our fees and pay to participate that I've noted earlier that we were pretty low on the budgets. We've improved that from only being down about 37,000 in comparison to 49 that we were at the end of December. So that's coming back closer to budget. Still off a little bit, but we're working on it. Year to date, the other line, 187,000 to the good. 150 of that has to do with the Bureau of Workers' Compensation refunds. Right now, revenue year to date, a little over 188,000 to the good. And like I said, most of that has to do with Bureau of Workers' Comp refunds that we received. In the expenditures, purchase services, I'm a broken record. That's the line item that always has the largest favorable variance. This time around, it was a little bit about timing. With the mail as it comes, our utility bills have been coming in sporadically, late actually. So we have about $25,000 of utility bills that would usually go into January. But since we didn't get them in time, they will be thrown into February. Also, we will be having an LPL, the online charges coming. That will be give or take about 75,000. So that should be, I thought we would have it in January, most likely will be here in February. Year to date for the expenditures, a little over 200,000. Better than budget. Overall, we're trending when you take into consideration the utility bills, some other small items. You know that I talked about our deficit spending for the year was going to be a little over 700,000. Right now, we're trending at about 375,000. I know that we're going to have a benefit to foundation. We will be getting more state funding through the governor, but unfortunately, we will have more than likely. This is the first time I'm kind of bringing it up to solidify. We're most likely going to have a food service and also a potential athletics transfer. Unfortunately, both of those funds are in the negative at this point. Last year for food service, we had a $58,000 transfer. I'm banking on kind of the same thing this year. Athletics right now is only trending at about a little over 20,000 in the deficit. But unfortunately, when it comes to spring sports, there's no funding that come in, but there's expenditures going out. So more than likely, athletics is going to kind of come into play, probably between $35,000 and $40,000 with a deficit. So overall, we're looking at potentially closing in on $100,000 for those transfers. I have been talking to Lisa about food service, and this does occur every year. We usually see a little bit of a benefit, a better trend at the end of the school year. So we're hoping for that to occur. But with everything else that's going on, we don't know if that's going to occur this year, as it's a different year. But that's kind of where we're at overall. Like I said, things are trending better, a lot better than what we thought. But unfortunately, it still looks like we'll be deficit spending somewhat considerably at the end of this fiscal year. But through 7 months, there has been some beneficial items happening. Any questions, comments, concerns over January or year to date after 7 months?
I do have a couple questions. The track resurfacing, that's on queue, right? So that's just queued up for weather. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
Yes, as of right now, that should happen
And that's
in
a
April.
3-day process, right?
2 to 3 days, yes.
So the other projects we still have outstanding, what's left to do at the softball field?
The concession stands, the press box/press box, we've engaged Breyer Construction to complete that project.
And then the opening of the windows at the football stadium concession stand, is that, I think that was supposed to be in with the track. Is that, can we have Josh look at doing that too?
We can. I had talked to Dan after we had talked earlier and about the possibility. He's not comfortable doing that work himself. So we'll have to engage. But Bill, I don't know if we talked about doing some of that out of the PI fund. I can't remember that conversation, quite honestly, or if we wanted it to come out of.
That is accurate. We actually have funding set aside for items like that in PI as we speak. Depending on what it is, I don't know. I've not seen a quote or anything of that sort to see what the money aspect is of that. But we do have, if I can remember right, I know we at least have $7,500 or maybe even a little bit more than that set aside for items such as that in permanent improvement.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very light in the approval items for this month. If you remember last month, I asked you to approve a budget that I sent into the Budget Commission. The Budget Commission is made up of the county treasurer, county prosecutor, and also the county auditor. Within that budget was all of our current levies we had and so forth. Well, what happens when I turn in that budget, the Budget Commission looks it over, makes sure that it's all accurate, and they come back with what I provided you. There's a Schedule A and a Schedule B from them tax rates. The Schedule A is a summary of all of our tax rates, active tax rates we have, and what the dollar amounts will bring in for all those levies. If you look at Schedule B, that's every single levy we have, and a detail about how much each of the levies bring in. I looked over these. They do look similar to what we had last year. Not much change. But once, I guess if you have any questions, I can discuss this. These are all, just remember, these are all estimated. However, they are probably pretty much in line with what we will get in money-wise. There could be the possibility of having delinquencies, foreclosures, additional building of houses and so forth may not be in these numbers, but they will be in future numbers. But that's basically what this is, just showing what the money that we have in levies, what we'll be bringing in for those levies. So any questions on any of this when it comes to all of our levies that we have? If there's no questions, I just need a motion to approve, and then I'll be actually sending it back to the county auditor for filing.
Jeff Trainer, motion to approve.
Second.
Ron Reitner, second.
Cashin?
Tom Cashin, yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Chrissy Lewis, yes.
Mr. Traver?
Keith Trevor, yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Jeff Trainer, yes.
and Mr. Reitnauer.
Ron Reitnauer, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have for approval. Back to you, Mike.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if on page 9 of the agenda, I need the board to, and it's just a quick correction here on number 3, Craig Snyder, that is actually a retirement, not resignation. But I need the board to approve those following there. Just a quick note here. Number 2, Paul Patterson, resignation as high school football coach. I just want to take this opportunity to thank him for all the time and effort that he's put into our football program over the years, as both as an assistant and as a head coach. And just thank him for those and the success that he had, and just, you know, just doing a great job with our kids. So I want to thank him for that. Craig Snyder is retiring after 20 plus years here in the district, both as a teacher and coach, and just want to wish him the best in retirement and thank him for all he's done for our kids over the time that he's been here. So I just need the board to approve the following.
Motion to approve and concur with your thoughts. Jeff Trainer.
Tom
Keith
Cash,
Trevor, second.
motion to approve.
Mr. Cashin,
Tom Cashin, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Chrissy Lewis, yes.
Mr. Trevor,
Keith Trevor, yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Jeff Trainer, yes.
and Mr. Reitnauer.
Ron Reitnauer, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, on page 10. Bill, can I do those all together?
Yes, you may.
All righty, I need the board to approve.
Motion to approve, Chrissy.
Keith
Second,
Trevor,
Jeff.
second.
Mr. Cashin,
Tom Cashin, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Chrissy Lewis, yes.
Mr.
Keith
Trevor,
Trevor, yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Jeff Trainer, yes.
and Mr. Reitnauer.
Ron Reitnauer, yes.
And page 11. I need the board to approve those as listed there. Number 1, and I will talk about these after we get that approval. We can get sections at once.
Motion to approve. Tom Cashin, second.
Mr. Cashin,
Tom Cashin, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Chrissy Lewis, yes.
Mr. Trevor,
Keith
Mr.
Trevor,
Trainer.
yes.
Jeff Trainer,
and
yes.
Mr. Reitnauer.
He's frozen.
Yeah. Mr. Reitnauer?
Ron Reitnauer, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now we can officially welcome Dave Misfoot as our new head football coach, and as well, he will be joining us as an assistant principal at middle school and high school. Dave, we want to welcome you. I trust you're still there. And we want to welcome you. Dave comes to us from Michigan, and we try not to hold that against him. But he is coming to us directly from Western High School, where he's been there, I believe, Dave, the last 7 or 8 years, and prior to that, spent quite a long time at Dearborn High School. Dave's had a lot of success is coaching football. But one of the things I think that stood out, and anybody on the committee can chime in, I think one of the things that stood out to me was just how well people spoke of him as a person and a teacher, as well as a coach. and obviously we want quality people joining our district, and we really believe that's the case here. Does anybody else want to join in before we let Dave speak? Okay, Courtney.
I was just gonna tell him that that Genoa G looks really nice on you.
Okay. Dave, why don't you go ahead and say a few words?
Well, first of all, hello, everyone. Would have liked to have met you in person, but it's kind of nice to see some faces here. First and foremost, I just want to thank you for the opportunity presented to me here. I'm very excited about coming to Genoa, and I will piggyback on what Matt said and Ben was saying. The process going through the interview and meeting everyone, I will tell you, I've been through a few of those in my career, and that may have been just first class and maybe one of the most impressive groups of people and the format of everything. So it really jumped out at me. And again, I have a great impression coming in right now, and I'm excited about it. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, but I will just say that I'm going to work very hard to have a positive impact with all the kids there at Genoa and just on the Genoa school community. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, we're excited to have you, Dave. Looking forward to good things to come. Anybody else? Ron?
Ron's frozen again. I'll jump in. Dave, this is Jeff Drainer. I just want to welcome you. We're excited you're here. There's lots of people that want to meet you, from the folks that run the Little Comets football to boosters to parents, and we want to make that happen as soon as we can. But most importantly, I think the students, they're excited. I was with a couple of them today, and they're already reading about Dave Mifsud and your record, and they're impressed, slightly intimidated, and excited. I think all in one. So we're looking forward to having you here.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome you, Dave. Your reputation has precedes you, and they don't happen because they don't work hard. So I understand that, and I'm glad to welcome you aboard, and thank the committee for doing such a wonderful job in representing the school board and the Genoa community so well that you were impressed enough to say so. So welcome. Time to get to work.
Right.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's continue on page 14. Okay, number one, I need the board to approve. This is the first run of the school calendar, which I believe was sent to you all. If you have any questions or concerns, just let me know now. Otherwise, we can do an approval.
Motion to approve, Chrissy.
Second, Tom Cashin.
Mr. Cashin.
Tom Cashin, yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Chrissy Lewis, yes.
Mr. Traver.
Keith Trevor, yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Jeff Trainer, yes.
And Mr. Reitnauer.
Ron Reitnauer, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I need the board to approve number 2, open enrollment. All these students are students that are current students, but had to move out of the district and wish to remain.
Jeff Trainer, motion to approve.
Motion. Ron Reitnauer, second.
Mr. Cashin,
Tom Cashin, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Chrissy Lewis, yes.
Mr. Traver,
Keith Trevor, yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Jeff Trainer, yes.
and Mr. Reitnauer.
Right now, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I need the board to approve number 3 there. Owens Community College, College Credit Plus, our agreement with them for next year. The rates have remained the same with the College Credit Plus program. This is an agreement we have with Owens, Toledo, and Bowling Green. We have yet to receive the agreements from Toledo and Bowling Green, so I just need the board to approve agreement.
Hey, Mike, I don't see that in my packet. What is do you have the pricing or bill? Do you guys have that from last year?
Don't have it handy right now, but go ahead, Bill.
I don't have it either. I think it was $41.64, if I can remember right, for an in-house. I don't want to. I don't know what it was for on campus, unfortunately.
No, that's fine. Thank you. It's okay. Motion.
They stayed flat, correct?
Yeah, they stayed the same. Everything stayed the same.
Okay.
Yes.
So motion to approve.
Second, Jeff Trainer.
Mr. Cashin,
Tom Cashin, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Chrissy Lewis, yes.
Mr. Traver,
Keith Trevor, yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Jeff Trainer, yes.
and Mr. Reitnauer.
Right now, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, number 4 there, just as it says there, changing the birthday requirements for kindergarten. I'm going to let Mrs. Mees talk about this a little bit. There's some concerns there. We currently have the latest, or one of the latest birth dates for accepting kindergartners. So we have some pretty young kindergartners that come into the district. So we've had some conversations about this, but I'm going to let Mrs. Mees speak to that, and or Cody, whoever wants to jump in there.
I can go ahead and go. Yes, there's only 3 other districts as of, this was at the beginning of last January, that were still a September 30th date. One being us for the September 30th date. That's if you're 5 by that date. The biggest concern we do have with that is the immaturity of students coming in younger. It does cause for some behavior issues that we have noticed with some of our students. If we would have had that earlier start as of the August 1st, that could have prevented some of those behaviors and us having to, I know a student in particular send to another building just due to behaviors that we're looking at transitioning back. But I think with the consistency piece to the other districts and not having other families trying to get into Genoa just to have it for that year, it's a loophole around enrollment. And then the immaturity piece to some of our students. If parents still want it to get their students in, they can test them to try to do for early entrance for kindergarten. So that still remains an option, even if we do change the date to the August 1st deadline. So this is something that we have discussed for a couple of years now. And I know most recently BCS, one of our neighboring districts, they moved last year to their August, from September 30th to August 1st. So it's just something that we wanted to discuss further and hopefully get approved for the change in our board policies.
Any questions from the board?
When would the new policy take place? When would the new policy
We
take
hope
effect?
hoping this upcoming school year. So we're waiting on releasing any kindergarten information, pending the approval or not from this board meeting. I know that we are starting to run out of time for release of that information and sign up for a kindergarten screening.
Any further comments?
I'm okay with
Would the
moving the date.
testing, would the
I'll
testing
support your
take
recommendation.
place during the kindergarten? Would the testing for early enrollment take place during the kindergarten screening? How would that happen?
Nope. So we would only screen the students who would meet that deadline. Any other parents who would want to have testing would just put in that, they would just reach out to myself, or usually it's the school psychologist, Mrs. Reynolds, that would do the testing for that. So they would just reach out, ask for the early entrance, the testing for early entrance, and then we would go ahead and test for that. So it wouldn't be at the screening. We would only screen our kiddos that would meet that deadline of the day.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. If there's nothing further, I ask the board to someone to make a motion.
Motion to accept, Jeff
Motion
Trainer.
to second it, Chrissy.
Mr. Cashin,
Tom Cashin, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Chrissy Lewis, yes.
Mr. Traver,
Keith Trevor, yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Jeff Trainer, yes.
and Mr. Reitnauer. He's
Mr. Frozen. You can still see his picture. He's just not moving.
Yeah, he's frozen solid.
I can call him.
We'll see if he comes back in.
This is probably the longest I've had to wait for an approval.
Hey, Ron, you want me to just put you on speaker here? Okay. Okay, Ron is with me. He's on speaker. Hopefully we won't get too much feedback here. So Ron, the motion was made to accept the change in the dates for the kindergarten. It's your vote now.
Yeah, Ron, right now, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the number 5 there, we are, this has to do with teacher evaluations. I have a memorandum of understanding that needs approval. We have the latitude, we've had the latitude from the beginning of the year from the state to waive teacher evaluations in the district. Every district in the state of Ohio has had this opportunity to do that. We decided to go ahead and attempt to do the teacher evaluations, get them done, hoping that the time and COVID and quarantines would cooperate, but it's becoming very difficult for my administrative team at the building level to get all those evaluations done, because they're not just a simple meet and greet, 30 minutes and you're done. It's a long process throughout the course of the year with multiple observations, depending on the experience that teacher has and their rating from prior years. So what we're looking at doing is continuing the evaluations for first, second, and third year teachers. Their full cycle would continue, but for any teachers older than that, with more experience than that, we would waive those requirements, those evaluation requirements for the remainder of the school year. And there is an allowance in the system that records all of the evaluations for a COVID exemption. So since we had the evaluation 2.0 OTES 2.0 process approved by the board in the beginning. We're asking for this approval to this modification. So once again, first, second, and third year teachers would still be fully evaluated. The more experienced teachers, that would be waived. And again, this is just to give my building level administrators the opportunities to, in the time that they need to complete the operations and management of the buildings and everything else day to day.
Mike, so this would just be for this year, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Chrissy Lewis, motion to approve the memorandum of understanding.
Jeff Trainer, second.
Mr. Cashin,
Tom Cashin, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Chrissy Lewis, yes.
Mr. Traver,
Keith Traver, yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Jeff Trainer, yes.
Mr. Reitnauer.
Ron Reitnauer, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and that is it for me.
All right. Any input from the community, Tom? All right. With no further business, I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second, Jeff Trainer.
Mr. Cashin,
Tom Cashin, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Chrissy Lewis, yes.
Mr. Traver,
Keith Traver, yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Jeff Trainer, yes.
and Mr. Reitnauer.
Ron Reitnauer, yes.
Okay, out at 7:08.
All right. Thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
All right, you too, Ron.
Have a good night.